walked past something broken, something thrown away, and wondered if it could be beautiful again? In today's video on Nature Nest, we're diving into DIY trash garden ideas, turning discarded bottles, mugs, pots, and old junk into colorful designs for your backyard and front yard. This video has timestamps, so you can jump right to what inspires you most. And if you have questions, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy this, take what you already have, get creative, and make it your own. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content, there's a story and a family. This isn't just a video. It's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it truly matters. When you subscribe, you're not just helping a channel grow. You're helping a dream stay alive, and giving a small family hope. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. In the heart of a small cottage garden, the pathway itself tells a story. Each step carries you past rows of recycled wine bottles, their glass surfaces transformed by color and care. Once forgotten and tossed aside, these bottles have been reborn, painted in shades of lavender, mint green, sky blue, and rose pink. Together they form a border that does more than separate soil from stone. It whispers of creativity, renewal, and the quiet joy of making something old shine like new. The path curves gently, inviting visitors to follow. On one side, chrysanthemums stand tall, their golden blooms catching the afternoon light. Aster petals in violet hues dance in the breeze, while clusters of marigolds add their fiery notes of orange and yellow. The bottles, though silent, seem alive, their colors shifting as sunlight filters through autumn leaves above. It is as if the edging itself blooms alongside the flowers, reflecting their joy. Farther along, sedum in late-season blush softens the edges, while the delicate nod of Japanese anemone reminds us that beauty can be both bold and subtle. The bottles anchor this living border, providing structure to the gentle chaos of nature. Painted by hand, they carry the small imperfections of brush strokes, each mark a memory, each color a choice. This makes them more than glass. They are fragments of art placed into the soil. At the end of the pathway rests a rustic wooden bench, weathered by time yet still sturdy. It waits for quiet moments, a neighbor stopping by, a gardener wiping soil from their hands, or a passerby pausing simply to breathe. From this seat, the pathway glows with soft colors, framed by flowers that never ask for praise but always give it freely. In such a space, the garden becomes more than land, it becomes a reflection of the soul. The recycled bottles, once empty, now hold meaning greater than their past. They remind us that beauty often lies in what we choose not to throw away. In this backyard sanctuary, each step is edged with hope, each bloom is a hymn, and every painted bottle is a small promise that nothing is truly wasted. the quiet charm of a tiny front yard, the smallest details speak the loudest. Here, a row of teacups, once used for morning coffee and afternoon tea, now blooms with life. Each cup, hand-painted in soft pastels of lemon, lavender, blush, and sky blue, has been transformed into a vessel for color. The soil within them cradles chrysanthemums, asters, and marigolds, their blossoms spilling over like laughter in a family kitchen. There is a joy in the unexpected. What once carried steam now carries roots. What once held warm drinks now holds petals touched by dew. The cups are not uniform, their handles curl differently, their rims chipped slightly with age. Yet it is in these small imperfections that beauty deepens. They remind us that even the ordinary can be reborn into something extraordinary. The teacups sit along a rustic fence, sunlight painting shadows across the wood. Around them, the garden hums with quiet life, a bee dips into the asters, marigolds flare against the green, and chrysanthemums lift their golden crowns to the breeze. From the porch, one can watch these colors shift as the day stretches from morning to dusk, each hour offering a new shade of beauty. A bamboo trellis nearby carries more teacups, each hanging gently, swaying like tiny lanterns in the wind. The Japanese anemones within them nod gracefully, their pale petals shining against the dark green ivy that climbs above. It is as though the teacups whisper secrets of a bygone era while carrying the present into bloom. On the stone steps of the porch, more cups rest in quiet dignity, painted with rustic patterns, each brimming with flowers. Fallen autumn leaves gather at their bases, adding a warm golden frame. Visitors pause, not just to admire but to smile, for there is something inherently welcoming in such a sight. This garden does not need grandeur. It thrives on intimacy, on the delight of discovering beauty where one least expects it. Each teacup is a story, each flower a verse, together forming a poem that speaks of love for small spaces, for color, and for life itself. In a garden that listens to whispers of the past, the forgotten has found a new voice. Old lamp bases, once meant to hold light in darkened rooms, now stand proudly in the soil as sculptures. Their iron frames and delicate curves, painted in bronze and pastel hues, breathe with new purpose. They no longer shine with electricity, but with the quiet glow of nature embracing them. Set against a backdrop of chrysanthemums and marigolds, the lamp bases rise like sentinels. Some cradle small pots of sedum, their leaves blushing in the cool of autumn, while others stand bare, their painted surfaces catching the shifting light of the day. The asters nearby lean toward them, as though recognizing kinship and resilience, flowers reborn each season beside objects reborn by human hands. In the front yard, a cottage corner transforms into an artful display. The lamp bases, once discarded, are gathered, cleaned, and given coats of cheerful color. Now they hold Japanese anemones that dance lightly with the wind. The stone pathway that leads past them feels more alive, each step accompanied by the silent presence of these sculptural forms. What was once merely functional now carries a spirit of play and imagination. On the patio, a rustic farmhouse tone unites the space. Lamp bases stand like quiet companions, their arms trailing with ivy and small flowering vines. They blend seamlessly into the pergola behind them, its wooden beams softened by climbing roses. As sunlight drifts through the vines, the scene takes on a timeless quality, as though the past and present converse here in harmony. Visitors pause, drawn not only by flowers but by the unexpected poetry of these repurposed objects. Children laugh, tracing the swirls of metal with their fingers. Gardeners nod with pride, seeing proof that creativity can turn rust into radiance. Neighbors linger, inspired to see beauty where once there was only waste. In this garden, lamp bases no longer guard hallways or corners of a house. They stand instead as sculptures of renewal, reminders that every object, like every season, can be given a second chance. And in their quiet, sturdy presence, they shine brighter than ever before. In the heart of the backyard, the pergola becomes more than shelter, it becomes a canvas for light and color. Hanging from its wooden beams, painted glass bottles gather like jewels strung together, their forms glowing as the sun spills across them. Emerald green, cobalt blue, soft amber, and ruby red, each shade transforms sunlight into a gentle prism, scattering warmth across the garden below. The bottles, once forgotten on kitchen shelves and in dusty cellars, now sing with new life. Suspended by rustic ropes, they sway softly in the afternoon breeze, their painted skins shimmering like stained glass windows. Beneath them, a wooden table waits with the promise of shared meals and quiet moments, framed by chrysanthemums lifting golden heads and asters in delicate violet hues. Marigolds burn like embers along the edges, their fiery tones echoing the bottle's glow. As the day turns, the pergola breathes in rhythm with nature. Vines climb its beams, weaving a curtain of green that softens the space. Sedum blushes in the cool of autumn, while Japanese anemones dance with pale petals in the breeze. The stone pathway that leads into this corner feels enchanted, as if guiding visitors toward a secret sanctuary. At sunset, the bottles transform. They capture the fading light and reflect it across the patio, casting fragments of color on stone and soil. The garden seems to inhale, its flowers touched with hues not their own, asters glowing faintly blue, marigolds kissed with a deeper red, chrysanthemums brushed with green. It is a fleeting magic, but one that lingers in memory. Guests gather beneath the chandeliers, eyes lifting as stories and laughter spill into the air. Children marvel at the colors above, while gardeners smile knowingly, recognizing the beauty of renewal in each suspended bottle. The pergola becomes a stage where light, glass, and blooms perform together, reminding all who sit beneath that creativity can turn the simplest trash into timeless treasure. When night finally comes, the chandeliers rest in silence, their colors dimmed but not forgotten. By morning, they will glow once more, greeting a new day with the same quiet promise that beauty is always within reach, waiting to be discovered, repainted, and reborn. shines brightest. Along the edge of a stone pathway, rows of tin cans stand proudly, their plain surfaces transformed by color. Once cast aside as trash, they are now reborn in sunflower yellow, rose pink, turquoise, and lavender. Each one holds a bloom, and together they weave a ribbon of brightness that runs through the heart of the garden. The marigolds flare with golden fire, their petals glowing against painted cans. Asters add notes of purple, soft and steady, while chrysanthemums bring the richness of autumn's crown. The colors of the flowers and cans blend seamlessly, creating a playful harmony that makes the border feel alive. Every step along the path is like walking beside a carnival of blossoms and hues. In a tiny backyard, the story deepens. Here, tin cans are not just painted in solid colors but patterned with rustic floral motifs. Brushstrokes swirl like vines, dots mimic petals, and even small imperfections in the paint add character. Within them grow sedum, their fleshy leaves tinged pink, and Japanese anemones that bow gracefully in the wind. Together, they soften the rigidity of metal, proving that even the hardest surfaces can cradle life with tenderness. The front yard takes on another rhythm. Curved pathways edged with cobalt blue, coral red, and emerald green cans lead visitors through a world of warmth and welcome. Children giggle as they follow the line, adults pause to admire the ingenuity, and neighbors take notes for their own gardens. The border does more than frame the flowers, it frames the spirit of the home itself, turning practicality into poetry. As the light shifts through the day, the painted cans catch shadows and highlights. They shine under the midday sun, glow softly at dusk, and whisper under the silver of moonlight. Their transformation is more than physical. It is a reminder that beauty does not always come from perfection or wealth, but from vision, patience, and the courage to see potential where others see waste. Here, in the tin can borders of a cottage garden, life blooms not just in the soil but in the imagination. There is a gentle poetry in fences. They mark the edges of a space, yet they also carry the promise of welcome. In this farmhouse garden, the wooden fence is not merely a boundary. It has become a gallery of color, where old ceramic mugs hang as if telling stories to every passerby. Each mug has been touched by paint, transformed into a jewel of pastel brightness. Mint green, sunflower yellow, coral pink, and sky blue dangle in a cheerful row, catching the light and the eyes of all who wander near. Their handles, once used to cradle warm hands in morning kitchens, now cradle blossoms instead. Marigolds spill from their rims in bursts of gold, asters soften the display with violet whispers, and sedum trails gently as if reaching for the ground. The fence itself wears age with dignity. Its wooden planks are weathered, textured by years of sun and rain. Against this backdrop, the mugs feel even more alive, delicate bursts of color upon a canvas of rustic browns. Behind them, chrysanthemums stand tall, and ivy climbs with patient determination. The combination is not forced, but natural, as if the garden itself wished to decorate its own border. In one corner, mugs painted with floral motifs tell a quieter story. Japanese anemones rise from them with pale, nodding blooms, their simplicity echoing the faded designs on porcelain. A stone pathway meanders nearby, leading feet and hearts alike closer to the beauty of this small transformation. Guests pause here, smiling as they lean in to see details of brush strokes, blooms, and the way sunlight catches the curve of a handle. By evening, the fence glows with a different magic. Shadows stretch, and the mugs seem to float like lanterns in the fading light. Their painted surfaces soften, their flowers fold gently toward rest, and the wooden planks hum with the silence of twilight. Yet the warmth they carry never fades. For in this farmhouse garden, the mugs are more than vessels. They are fragments of memory, repurposed into vessels of joy. They remind us that beauty need not always come in grand gestures. Sometimes, it hangs quietly from a fence, blooming in the simplest of forms, waiting to be noticed. Can be many things: a resting place, a stage for gathering, or a window to the imagination. Here, it becomes a shoreline of its own, painted not with sand and waves but with bottles of glass reborn in the hues of the sea. Cobalt blue, sea green, turquoise, and teal shimmer in the sunlight, each one catching light as though it has carried it straight from the ocean's edge. These bottles, once empty and forgotten, now stand proudly as edging along the pathway and as lantern holders on the low stone wall. They gleam with a quiet radiance, scattering reflections across marigolds and chrysanthemums. The fiery gold of the flowers seems to ignite against the cool glass, while asters soften the contrast with their violet calm. Together, they weave a story of sea and soil, of water meeting land in perfect harmony. Around them, sedum blushes in shades of pink and green, anchoring the garden with its quiet resilience. Japanese anemones lift their pale blooms like shells open to the sky, delicate yet enduring. Each plant, each bloom, seems to echo the spirit of the sea, free yet grounded, timeless yet ever-changing. The patio itself feels like a harbor. A rustic wooden bench waits beneath a pergola laced with climbing vines, offering a place to sit and listen to the whispers carried by the breeze. Here, one does not hear the crash of waves but the rustle of leaves, the hum of bees, and the distant laughter of children playing beyond the fence. And yet, the bottles remind us, the ocean is always near, carried in their colors, alive in their glow. As afternoon turns to evening, the bottles catch the last light of the sun, glowing like small beacons. Their glass seems almost alive, turning the patio into a mosaic of green and blue reflections. Neighbors pause at the gate, drawn in by the unexpected beauty. Guests linger longer, reluctant to leave the warmth of such a space. This is the magic of transformation. A bottle, once discarded, becomes not just a decoration but a memory of faraway seas. A patio, once ordinary, becomes a sanctuary that whispers of journeys yet to come. And in the simple act of placing glass among flowers, a garden becomes a seascape, a dream brought to life in shades of blue and green. There is a quiet elegance in simplicity, and in this garden, that elegance blooms through recycled ceramic pots. Once cracked, mismatched, or pushed aside in kitchens, they now rise again as vessels of calm beauty. Painted in muted earth tones, gray, cream, and soft green, some carry delicate brushstroke patterns of black and red, echoing the minimalist spirit of Japanese design. Placed carefully among raked gravel and smooth stones, these pots cradle chrysanthemums, their golden blossoms glowing against the soft palette. Asters lean gently, their purple petals opening like whispers, while Japanese anemones bow in the breeze with quiet dignity. Sedum adds its resilience to the composition, its blush-tinted leaves softening the arrangement. Together, they weave a harmony that feels both grounded and ethereal. Around them, bamboo fences rise with humble strength, their natural lines framing the scene without crowding it. A stone lantern rests nearby, its presence more symbolic than functional, reminding those who wander close that light can exist in forms beyond fire. Moss creeps softly along the gravel, a patient storyteller of time and stillness. Autumn leaves fall gently across the space, layering warmth atop the garden's cool calm. This is not a garden that seeks to overwhelm. It does not burst with riotous color or crowd every corner with blooms. Instead, it breathes slow, steady, and deliberate. Every pot, every stone, every petal is placed with intention, leaving space for air, silence, and reflection. Visitors pause here longer than expected. Perhaps it is the balance between simplicity and life, or perhaps it is the memory of distant landscapes woven into the very soil. The recycled pots remind us that beauty does not require perfection. Cracks can be painted, flaws can be cherished, and history can shape the future. At dusk, as shadows lengthen, the garden glows not with light but with serenity. The flowers rest, the pots cool, and the bamboo whispers as the breeze passes through. In this space, one feels both near and far, near to the soil beneath their feet, and far into a dream of distant shores where Japanese gardens echo with the same timeless grace. Here, the humble ceramic pot has found its second life, and in doing so, it teaches us how to find stillness within our own. Forgotten. In this garden, pieces of junk metal, once rusted, bent, and discarded, have found their place again, not as waste but as frames of beauty. With paint brushed across their weary surfaces, they gleam anew, turquoise as bright as the summer sky, sunflower yellow as bold as morning light, coral red as warm as autumn's heart. Now, these fragments stand tall, each transformed into a flower holder. They cradle chrysanthemums with golden crowns, asters in violet bloom, and marigolds burning like tiny suns. The flowers seem to embrace the metal, softening its hardness, weaving their colors into its painted form. Together, they speak of contrast made harmonious, of resilience wrapped in tenderness. In the front yard, buckets and pipes once tossed aside have been reborn. Their frames carry sedum, blushing pink in the cool breeze, and Japanese anemones nodding gracefully with pale petals. Against the rustic wooden fence, painted metal shines like jewels scattered across a canvas of ivy. Neighbors walking by cannot help but pause, drawn to the unexpected beauty of art crafted from what others left behind. On the patio, sculptural metal stands take on whimsical shapes. Some twist upward like vines, others bend in playful arcs, each painted with rustic pastel tones that catch the eye without overpowering the garden's natural rhythm. Marigolds spill from their tops like golden fountains, asters lean from their edges with gentle grace, and chrysanthemums anchor the scene with their bold presence. As sunlight drifts across the garden, the metal reflects both light and history. Imperfections remain beneath the paint, small dents and bends that tell of past utility. Yet these flaws do not diminish their beauty, they deepen it, reminding all who see them that renewal does not erase memory but transforms it. Evening falls, and the garden glows softly in twilight. The flowers fold, the colors dim, but the silhouettes of painted metal remain, standing like guardians of creativity. They are no longer junk. They are sculptures, vessels of life, carriers of blossoms and hope. In this rustic garden, the message is clear: nothing is ever truly wasted. Even in the heart. In a garden where east meets west, the edges themselves have become a work of art. Bamboo, strong yet graceful, stands shoulder to shoulder with bottles once destined for the trash. Painted in mint green, lavender, and pale yellow, the glass glows gently as sunlight passes through. Together, bamboo and bottle create a rhythm, nature and color, tradition and reinvention, framing the garden in harmony. The pathway curves softly, its stones warmed by afternoon light. Along the border, marigolds burst in golden clusters, asters add a violet softness, and chrysanthemums bring a regal richness. Between them, sedum blushes in pink while Japanese anemones nod lightly, their petals lifted by the breeze. It feels as though the flowers themselves approve of their guardians, the bamboo and bottles standing watch beside them. Bamboo brings strength and timelessness. Its vertical lines root the design in simplicity, recalling traditional gardens where balance and order matter most. The bottles, meanwhile, bring playfulness, scattering color and light, their painted skins glowing like gems. What could have been an odd pair becomes a seamless duet, each element amplifying the other's charm. In the backyard, alternating sections of bamboo and bottle lead the eye toward a cozy corner. There, a rustic bench waits beneath the shade of a pergola. It is a space made for pause, a place to sit with tea, to watch petals fall, to hear the soft hum of bees moving among asters. Guests who wander here always smile, their eyes following the dance of sunlight across painted glass and polished bamboo. The front yard, too, carries this magic. A curved border guides visitors, greeting them before they even knock at the door. The bottles catch morning light, glowing like stained glass, while bamboo anchors them with earthy steadiness. The combination feels both surprising and natural, unexpected yet undeniably right. By evening, the bottles fade into gentle shadows, but the bamboo remains steady, a reminder of quiet endurance. In the soft dusk, the border no longer shines with color, yet its presence still whispers, beauty can be found in the meeting of worlds. In this garden, bamboo and bottle together prove in the quiet embrace of a garden, charm often hides in the smallest of details. Here, vintage teapots, once poured over laughter and quiet conversations, have found a second life. Their porcelain bodies, painted in blush pink, mint green, lavender, and cream, now cradle soil instead of steam, blossoms instead of water. The transformation is tender, whimsical, and irresistibly sweet. On a rustic wooden shelf beside a stone pathway, teapots overflow with chrysanthemums that glow golden in the sun, asters that whisper violet tones, and marigolds that burn like tiny flames. Each one seems to smile, their curved spouts and delicate handles now framing petals that lean toward the light. Visitors pause here longer than expected, drawn in by the playful mix of utility and beauty, past and present. In a tiny front yard, antique ceramic teapots rest on wooden steps, their chipped rims and faded patterns adding layers of history. Sedum grows thick within them, spilling gently over the edges, while Japanese anemones lift their pale blooms like lanterns in the breeze. Around them, autumn leaves scatter like confetti, completing a scene that feels both fleeting and timeless. On the patio, teapots become the centerpiece of a farmhouse table. Painted with floral patterns, they cradle asters and chrysanthemums as if serving them to the guests who gather nearby. Ivy climbs in the background, softening the lines of the pergola, while vines above cast dappled shadows across the table. The entire setting feels alive with stories of old kitchens, morning rituals, and now, gardens reborn in color. What makes these teapots magical is not just their transformation, but the emotions they carry. They remind us of warmth, of gatherings past, of simple joys wrapped in daily rituals. To see them filled with flowers instead of tea is to witness a merging of memory and imagination, a testament that beauty is not bound to a single purpose. As dusk arrives, the teapots glow softly in twilight. Their blossoms close, their painted surfaces catch the last golden light, and the garden hums with quiet peace. In their small, whimsical presence, these mini planters offer more than decoration. They offer an invitation to see charm in the ordinary. At the heart of the garden stands a gazebo, its wooden beams weathered by time yet glowing with renewed charm. From its roof, glass bottles hang like suspended jewels. Once plain and discarded, they have been transformed with paint, emerald green, cobalt blue, ruby red, lavender, mint, and coral, a palette that turns sunlight into a dance of color. The bottles sway gently in the breeze, each one carrying either a flicker of candlelight or a handful of blossoms. Asters, with their violet whispers, spill gracefully from some, marigolds burn brightly in others, while sedum and Japanese anemones offer texture and grace. Together, they create a canopy of light and bloom, turning the gazebo into a sanctuary of both rest and celebration. Step inside, and the world slows. Rustic wooden benches wait in shadow, softened by the glow of glass above. The air carries the fragrance of chrysanthemums standing nearby, their golden petals lifting toward the beams. Ivy climbs the posts, its tendrils weaving into the bottle's ropes, as if nature itself seeks to join in this artful creation. The pathway that leads here is lined with stone, guiding visitors like a quiet invitation. To walk it is to enter a space that feels apart from time, where the boundary between garden and dwelling dissolves. Evening deepens the magic. As the sun sets, the bottles catch the fading light, casting jewel-toned reflections across the gazebo floor. Candles inside them flicker softly, their glow dancing like memories remembered. Neighbors who wander in are enchanted. Some marvel at the creativity, others simply smile, feeling the warmth of a space that is both humble and extraordinary. Children laugh as they watch the bottles sway, fascinated by the way simple objects can hold so much wonder. The gazebo becomes more than wood and nails, it becomes a stage for beauty. It reminds us that elegance can rise from the overlooked, that trash can be treasure, and that the smallest efforts, a brush of paint, a twist of rope, a bloom in a bottle, can transform not only a space but the way we see the world. Here, the bottles no longer serve as vessels for emptiness. They hold instead the colors of light, the whispers of flowers, and the spirit of a garden that believes in second chances. Garden is more than a line of stone, it is a thread that ties the seasons together. In autumn, that thread is woven with bottles and bricks, each one carrying the warmth of the harvest season. Painted bottles stand upright, glowing in shades of amber, crimson, and golden yellow. Between them lie weathered bricks, softened with moss, their earthy tones grounding the brightness of glass. Together, they create an edging that feels both rustic and refined, a celebration of contrast in harmony. Along the path, chrysanthemums stand proudly in hues of gold and bronze, their blossoms reflecting the season's fire. Asters weave in violet notes, balancing the richness with quiet grace. Marigolds flare in clusters, echoing the warmth of fallen leaves scattered across the stones. The sedum, with its late-season blush, leans into the edges, while Japanese anemones nod gently, their pale petals catching the autumn breeze. Each step along this path feels like walking through a painting. The bottles catch sunlight, scattering glimmers across the bricks. The bricks, sturdy and grounded, hold the path steady beneath one's feet. The leaves crunch softly, adding sound to the scene's symphony of color and texture. It is a moment where the ordinary, bottles once discarded, bricks weathered by time, becomes extraordinary through intention and care. At the curve of the path, a rustic wooden bench waits. Ivy climbs the nearby gate, its green threads contrasting with the fiery tones around it. From here, the garden unfolds like a storybook, a place where past and present meet, where recycled objects carry new meaning, and where autumn reveals its quiet magic. Evening deepens the colors, turning amber bottles into molten fire, crimson into deep wine, and golden yellow into soft honey. The bricks glow under the last light of day, steady as ever, holding the beauty in place. Guests linger longer, drawn by the cozy atmosphere that feels both humble and enchanting. This pathway does not just lead through a garden, it leads into a reminder that life, like the seasons, is a cycle of change and renewal. That even what is worn, discarded, or forgotten can be transformed into beauty. And that in the small details of a pathway edged with bottles and bricks, one can find the poetry of autumn itself. In the quiet corners of a garden, light often finds its own way. Here, beneath the beams of a rustic pergola, old junk lamps have been reborn as lanterns. Once rusted and forgotten in storage, their frames now carry warmth again, not the sterile brightness of electricity, but the gentle glow of renewal. Painted in earthy browns with soft pastel touches, or in bold hues of coral, green, and gold, they shine with character as unique as the hands that restored them. The pergola corner hums with life. Asters bloom nearby, their violet petals softened by lantern light. Marigolds flicker like mirrors of the flame, their orange and yellow blossoms echoing the glow. Chrysanthemums stand proudly, their golden crowns shimmering as dusk deepens into evening. Around the patio, sedum leans gracefully, its late blush touched with amber hues. Japanese anemones bow, their white petals catching fragments of light, like moonlit whispers scattered across the garden floor. The lanterns themselves sway lightly on rustic ropes, each one a memory reshaped into art. Their light spills across stone pathways, across ivy climbing the pergola's posts, across wooden benches waiting quietly for company. The corner feels alive, transformed not only by color and glow but by the story it carries, that even the discarded can shine again, given the chance. As night gathers, the lanterns take on a deeper magic. Their painted surfaces reflect the flame within, creating halos of red, green, and gold across the pergola beams. Guests who step inside are greeted by both warmth and wonder. Some pause to trace the lantern's curves, marveling at their transformation. Others sit in silence, feeling comfort in the soft companionship of light, flower, and shadow. Children see the pergola corner as enchanted, a place where stories of fireflies and fairies could easily be true. Gardeners see it as proof of creativity's endless reach, a reminder that beauty does not always begin in perfection but in the willingness to see potential. And neighbors passing by see it as a beacon, glowing with hospitality, calling them closer. Here, in the glow of junk lamps turned lanterns, the pergola corner becomes more than structure. It becomes a sanctuary of light and life, a place where color, bloom, and imagination converge. In this quiet beyond the stone path and the hum of daily life, lies a space designed not for labor but for rest. Here, painted trash pots rise proudly as planters, their surfaces alive with color. Once dull and discarded, They now gleam in coral pink, mint green, sunflower yellow, and soft sky blue, each one cradling blossoms that spill joy into the air. The pots form clusters around a rustic wooden bench, creating a frame of life for those who sit to breathe, to think, or simply to be. Chrysanthemums lift golden blooms like tiny suns, asters stretch violet arms to the breeze, and marigolds blaze in fiery tones that echo autumn's warmth. Together, they turn this corner of the backyard into a sanctuary, where nature and creativity rest side by side. Some of the pots are painted not in solid colors but in rustic floral patterns, vines curling across their surfaces, blossoms drawn with whimsical strokes. Within them, sedum grows strong and low, its blush leaves catching the light, while Japanese anemones sway in pale grace, their petals offering a quiet counterpoint to the riot of color around them. Ivy creeps gently along the edges of the pathway, binding earth and object together with its patient green. Above, a pergola stretches, wooden beams softened by climbing vines. They cast dappled shadows across the bench and table, where a teapot waits, its steam mingling with the fragrance of flowers. It is a scene that invites pause, a moment of stillness in the rush of days. Guests who wander back here cannot help but slow, their eyes drawn to the transformation of simple trash into vessels of beauty. Evening deepens the colors, softening the brightness into warmth. The painted pots glow gently in the fading light, their imperfections hidden, their stories alive. The flowers fold into themselves, the vines whisper with the wind, and the bench becomes a cradle for dreams. This spot is more than a place to sit. It is a testament that rest itself can be created, crafted from things once unwanted, shaped by care and imagination. In painted trash pots, the backyard speaks of renewal, of joy, and of the endless ways beauty can be found when we